Hey guys, welcome into the 14. I'm Nick Cole, and we're breaking down each SEC football game in Week 10 from a betting perspective. Today, we're talking about the Tennessee Vols visiting the Kentucky Wildcats. This game's being played on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky. This game will be aired on ESPN2. From a betting perspective, this game opened with the Wildcats as a 5-point favorite, and that line's moved dramatically through the week. As of the recording of this on Thursday afternoon, this game is a pick'em. No line either way. And then on the over-under, it opened at 62.5. We've also seen some movement in that as well. It's all the way down to 57 as of Thursday afternoon. Bringing in our betting analyst, Christopher Smith. Christopher, quite a bit of movement on this game. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not super surprised. You see the opener at -5. That went to -3 in favor of Kentucky within a few hours of Circus Sports opening the lines on Sunday. But if you did want Tennessee, you had a +3 sitting there as late as Monday afternoon. So a lot of times we talked before the show that if you're betting and there is sort of a market inefficiency, the earlier in the week and the sooner you bet on a game, the better. But you don't want to do that if you're just throwing darts. But if you are confident that you have an edge on a game, the earlier you bet it in the week is better. But also some injury news from Kentucky throughout the week that maybe led to some of that movement, which Nick, you're about to tell us about the weather injuries and get into Nick's news and notes.
Sure. So let's start on the weather first. It's going to be a little bit chilly in Lexington at this time of year. We should have temperatures in the 40s at kickoff and sort of going down through the afternoon there into the evening. But we have a light wind and no expected rain, so we shouldn't have any elements that impact the outcome of this game. On the injury standpoint, like you mentioned, Kentucky's list is pretty long. I'm going to run through it real fast. Kentucky nose guard Marquand McCall, offensive tackle Dari Rosenthal, outside linebacker Jordan Wright are all dealing with injuries. So those are going to be names to watch going right up until kickoff on Saturday, see if we're going to have any of them playing at all. And then their star running back, Chris Rodriguez, has been dealing with an off-field issue that after supposedly getting over a wrist injury. Now, questions are still out there on whether he's actually done that or not, too. And they're already down some players. Starting defensive lineman Octavius Oxendine is out. Defensive back Vito Tisdale and linebacker DeAndre Square had to get medical attention during their last game. So, I mean, they're just banged up all over the place. And that, like you said, may have an impact on the way teams are viewing bettors are viewing the Wildcats going into this game. On the Tennessee side of things, they're actually getting a little bit healthier after dealing with some injuries of their own. Guard Cade May, defensive tackle Elijah Simmons, and running back Tyon Evans are all, quote, leaning towards having the opportunity to play, according to head coach Josh Heupel coming out of that bye week. And then obviously starting quarterback Hendon Hooker had dealt with an injury going into the bye week as well. On the news and notes standpoint, let's talk about where both of these programs are at. I think generally speaking, there's an upbeat tone to the way the season has gone for both of these teams, but they're both in the midst of 2-game losing streaks coming into this game. And so the loser is going to be facing obviously a 3-game losing streak coming down the stretch here. Tennessee's showed some signs of progress actually in losses to Ole Miss and Alabama, even though they didn't get the desired outcome. So typically still an upbeat tone around Josh Heupel's program coming out of that bye week, but Kentucky's sort of a little bit different. They started the season 6-0, and they're reeling from a couple of road losses. First one to Georgia, which I think everybody sort of understands, but the last game that they lost last week to Mississippi State has everybody sort of scratching their head a little bit. That was a game that you would expect a team that was ranked up towards the top 10 to win, but they lost 31-17 and really were not the better team at all at any point in that game. And that leads me to my question about the Wildcats coming in this game is, can they still run the ball effectively enough to win the game? That's where the recipe for success with Mark Stoops is play good defense, run the ball, take care of the football, mix in the play action pass every now and then. But you look at Chris Rodriguez, we mentioned him on the injury report earlier. He has just 15 carries for 41 yards in those 2 losses combined. And that's stark contrast to where he was at earlier in the season, where he was carrying this team to big wins over LSU and other teams. So you sort of have to watch going into Saturday where they're at with him. Offensive coordinator Liam Cohen more or less said that he's in a better mindset this week. Seems to be like he's going to be past an injury, but if he can't get right, I'm not sure that this Kentucky offense gets right. Christopher, is that a big concern for you as you look at which side to take on this game?
Yes, it definitely is. And all due respect to Wandale Robinson, but the guy you just mentioned, Chris Rodriguez, he is the offense for Kentucky. And he's sort of like a Derrick Henry type for those of you living in Nashville or Titans fans that, you give him the ball 25, 30 times a game, and eventually the other team gets tired of him lowering his shoulder into you and plowing you over and over again. Very strong guy. But you look at the Kentucky offense, just going through some of their point totals: 28 against Chattanooga, 16 against South Carolina, 20 against Florida, 13 against Georgia, 17 against Mississippi State. I mean, that's for all the good that Liam Cohen and Will Levis, the Penn State transfer, and Wandale Robinson from Nebraska have done this season. It's not an offense that's really going to threaten you with big point totals and explosive plays. And if you make them pass, Levis will take sacks. He'll throw interceptions in big situations. I'm not a big fan from a football standpoint of Josh Ali, who is Kentucky's number 2 receiver. They really don't have a tight end that's involved in the passing game. So, Robinson is a nice individual player who will get his 6-7 catches a game and, put up 80 yards, but he's, that's about it. And no one else is doing anything on the passing game for Kentucky. So it's essentially up to Robinson to make it happen with yards after contact on the ground. And he's been fumbling. He's been dealing with some sort of issue that everyone's been vague about. But if you look at the spot in this game, you mentioned some of this already, Nick, but Tennessee off a bye week. I mean, you mentioned the offensive players that are pretty important to Tennessee that are probably going to be healthier. It's also Josh Heupel's first year, and you got to remember, for whatever reason, he started Joe Milton at the beginning of the year. So, and Hendon Hooker is a transfer. So you would think from one standpoint, at least, like some of the offense that hasn't even played a full season up to this point, and they're with a very brand new coach and a brand new system, maybe a bye week would be somewhat helpful theoretically. But also the offenses like Heupel runs, the no huddle, up tempo, very quick signal offenses seem to be more timing based, which sometimes if you take a week off, sometimes it actually hurts those kind of offenses. So kind of a mixed bag for Tennessee. But you mentioned Kentucky, a lot of injuries. Not only are they facing a 3-game losing streak if they were to lose here, but Big Blue Nation, I know, and I'm getting excited about college basketball season, which starts next week. So you got to wonder if the football team has lost 3 straight games. They go from maybe tying Bear Bryant's 11 win mark, which is the all-time win mark at Kentucky in a season, to, all right, basketball season started, football's over, nice first half of the year, whatever. You mentioned Tennessee's taking all kinds of sharp money. I think Tennessee should have been favored from the start of this game. They played a total toss-up against Ole Miss. They easily could have won, and they were within 1 touchdown of Alabama in the fourth quarter, in their last game. I think it's a pretty good Tennessee team. Not great, but, maybe top 35 team in the country, and maybe people are not giving them full credit yet. SP Plus has this as Tennessee as nearly a 4-point favorite in this spot, even before the injuries and other things like that. So, Nick, who are you betting on this game, and what's your take on the over/under?
Yeah, so maybe I'm just a little bit gun shy based on the history of the Vols and the last 10 and 15 years of disappointments that they've had in spots. But I actually kind of feel good about where Tennessee's at right now, coming out of a bye week, showing market improvement as the season's gone along as an offensive team. And I kind of like them in this spot against a Kentucky team that hasn't been very impressive the last couple of weeks. So give me the Vols and the pick'em. And then if you're going to, look at the total in this game, 57 feels about right to me. So I don't know that I'm going to lay any money on this, but I'll take the under just because I do think Kentucky has had trouble scoring points in the last few weeks, and I don't expect that to change. And I don't know that Tennessee, while I think they've improved, is the type of team that we can count on being up in the 40s in a conference game like this. How do you see this one?
I'll take the Vols, pick them, and I'll take under 57 as well. I will say one thing about the side There are some books that are still favoring Kentucky and one or two that are favoring Tennessee. I think Tennessee will be the favorite by kickoff, but there's two things to look for. One, if you can find Tennessee at a plus number and you want to bet the Vols, do that. And two is look at the money line prices as well, because if you're taking Tennessee pick 'em, maybe there's a place that you could find Tennessee minus 105 or even plus 100 or something like that on the money line, which is going to be better payout than the minus 110 on the spread. So for Nick Cole, I'm Christopher Smith for the 14, and we'll talk to you next week.